Mickey Thompson operated this strip and put on many top flight events for the cars all over the country. And what we're looking at right now is a benefit for Mickey Brown, who died in a dragster accident. And I think Long Beach had, with the exception of maybe the Pomona drag strip, about the longest of any shut-off in the local drag strips. Again, you'll see the telephone poles that line the drag strip, which made it really bad for the cars we were trying to run. And they still had the curfew to put up with. When they had a lunch break, Mickey Thompson would often put on some races that would kind of keep the crowd amused. Either some foot races for the quarter mile, if you could last that long, or you have staggered car races. The cars are parked sideways on the drag strip. The driver had to run across, touch the fence, run back, touch the other fence, and get in the car and take off. And they got a little hurry once in a while, because once in a while you get a couple of cars that would do that, a little too eager to go, and they would sideswipe. I had a 56 Merc over there years ago. All I had on it was stock. I had a McCullough blower. And I come up with the starting line, and who was sitting beside me but K.S. Pittman. Now, some of the old-timers are laughing already about my having to run K.S. Pittman. I got about halfway down the drag strip, and he hadn't even started yet. So I was just passing the halfway mark, and he started out, and he blew by me, almost blew me off the drag strip. He won the race, and I think he turned about 115 or 20 or more. I don't remember the exact time. But for the youngsters that don't remember K.S. Pittman, he had a Willys with a blown Chrysler in it, and was considered one of the top cars in the country in his class. And so it was a little bit on the weird side of my having to run him. Don't have much of a timing tower over there for Long Beach. This is back when they didn't spend a lot of money on track except for just promoting races. Now they have the Pomona drag strip with a multi-million-dollar timing tower and booth for rooms where people can watch the races and everything. But this back in the early, the formative days of drag racing. It was organized, but not like it is now. You'll notice the haircuts these guys have on. Most of them have a normal short haircut. This is back in the days earlier, before the guys decided they wanted to go the long haircut. The Beatles come along, and a long haircut all of a sudden was the thing. You had to have a long haircut. But if you look at the fellas in the video here, every one of them had what they called back then a normal haircut, where a boy or a man looked like a boy or a man, not looked like a girl. Ooh, I'm going to hear about that. Roadster right here run by Bob Rossetti. This is the same one that was at Pomona earlier. This is the same car that was at Pomona, but that's the same one we had at Bonneville, or I'm sorry, El Mirage Dry Lake, with the camera on it. While you're watching the cars race, I'm going to read some more information I have here from National Dragsters publication, and this is written by Chris Martin. He gave me permission to use this. Major street, I'm reading right now the article that Chris wrote. A major street racing problem in the LA area led to the founding of the Lion Drag Strip on October 9th, 1955. The track was located in an old industrial section just off Interstate 405 on the corner of 223rd and Alameda. At the time, the area's biggest features were the oil company tank farms, the Southern California tracks that ran the length of Alameda Avenue, and shipping storage yards and so forth in the area. The NHRA World Championship point races were held there, American Hot Rod Association, World Championship races, the First United Drag Racers Association, and Professional Drag Racers Association were all held there. Also, you remember that, like Don Garlett's transmission explosion where he cut the car in half, and John Weeby's side-by-side 617s are just a few of the hundreds of historical examples of racing that went on. Yeah, complaints from the neighbors and the maneuvers on the part of the Harbor Commission finally led to the track's closure on December 2nd, 1972. The track was shut down right after that, and right now it's used mostly just to store oil pipe. It was kind of a waste of a drag strip sitting there, but with the neighbors moving in and the housing and everything, the noise got to be too much for everybody. Instead of doing burnouts back in the old day, they used to just push them down the drag strip, sometimes down as far as the end of the quarter mile to start them up. Then they come all the way back and loop around and start their races. Any of you out there know when the first burnout was done? We've had a lot of discussions on that, and I know other people debate about it. Who did the first burnout? When did that start? Be a little interesting piece of information to know. Because somebody had to do something the first time. I'm sure they had to get information from the track if it was okay. Had to get NHRA's okay on it. And it'd be kind of fun to know who did the first burnout and when that all started. Some of these cars out here, they smoke them all the way down. This roadster right here is run by Gary Cagle, Blown Chrysler. Gary was he's one of the pioneers of drag racing. He ran a car with Chet Herbert years ago, had a bad accident. The car flipped and threw him out onto the drag strip, and he landed dead center on the drag strip in a sitting position, and it really messed him up for quite a while. But Gary was the timer for Bonneville Salt Flats also for many, many years, and El Mirage Dry Lake. You're going to see a lot of gassers here, most of these Willys, and gassers, well, the coupes and the pickup trucks. One of these cars, what I had to race against, was my old stock 56 Merc. So you can see when I laugh about getting halfway down and they caught me and blew me off the track and they went by. In a few minutes, you'll see Jack Crispin's Sidewinder come up. Now, Jack was back at Indianapolis one year when I was there, and he would have, in my opinion, he would have been national champion if he hadn't been an axle. Jack was running one of the top cars back there on speed and ET, and they'd been an axle the day before the final eliminations, and they went into a machine shop, tried to get it straightened out. They did the best they could on it, but when he ran off, this car right here we're talking about, got a Chrysler engine in it, mounted sideways, the wheels are chain driven. The axle was still bent and the car was hopping so bad he had to get off of it. But if it hadn't been for the bent axle, in my opinion, Jack would have been the top eliminator with this car. Notice the California haze down there, also known as California smog. There's a lot of that in California. Car run by Hayden Profit right here. Got a little blown Chevy in it. You're going to have a good example coming up pretty soon of some of these car games I was talking to you about. Filling out the cars the drivers have to sprint across. That'll be coming up in the next couple of minutes. Long Beach had about 8 or 9 staging area lanes that you would line up in, so instead of cars coming in all in a big jumbled up mess, they had individual lanes to line up in, and each was kind of fenced off. This is Junior Thompson in the blown Studebaker. We saw him earlier at the Pomona drag strip. I was there years ago with a friend of mine, and I was kind of helping with the pit crew, and he went through and set a new record. And one of the guys in the pit crew got real excited and jumped up in the air, and he was really excited about a record being set, and his false teeth fell out. And they bounced right in front of the bleachers about where we are right now, looking down at the cars. And you should have heard the crowd's reaction to it. They roared. So he reaches down and... I'll interrupt my story for a second. This was the Dragmaster car from Oceanside here. So he reaches down and picks his false teeth up and makes kind of a little show of it and cleans them off and pops them back in. Life goes on. The old farmer out there doing his chores while the drag races are going on. And if you ask any of the old timers that were there on this event, one of the things they'll remember is that guy that lost his false teeth on the starting line. But he really got excited. Oh, how I wish I'd have kept some accurate records back then. So I'm just going to have to cruise along, and hopefully notice how the crowd stands up, almost like a wave at the baseball games and the football games nowadays when they do the wave routine, the crowd. All it takes is one person to get it started, and then everybody has to stand up. Notice all the cars along the side. What those cars parked along the side, they're waiting for their chance to run. And what they do, they'll push it down, bring it up on the strip, come back on the drag strip, fire up, and then they'll line up and make their runs. So that's those cars you see parked along the side right here on the right are more cars that are waiting for their top eliminator runs. But they push it back the full length of the quarter mile, light off, and then pull up and start. We have about 5 more minutes of Long Beach left, then we get into the Bonneville Salt Flats. And we'll spend maybe 20 minutes there, then we're all through, the video's over. I'm kind of suffering from memory lag right along here. I done the best I can on some of the cars. Here's a Baron Freitas car, twin-blown Chevys. Or that could be, I'm sorry, that could also be the freight train. Most of those cars look alike to me, so if I'm wrong, it's either the Baron Freitas or the freight train. They both ran twin-blown Chevy engines in them. Freight train was run by John Peters. In fact, that car recently was restored and is back doing an exhibition run now. They ran in Bakersfield a couple years ago at one of our old reunions there. Guy kicked the engine and the exhaust blew the fellow's hat off on the starting line. This Mercury Coupe right here is run by Harry Fields. He's when he's not racing, this is probably on a Saturday. Harry works at Santa Ana. He's one of the starters. He got a full house Merc engine in this car. It runs in the 90 bracket, pretty heavy. This gentleman right here is Clyde Petrie. He was killed a few years later. After this was taken, he got into a car, a dragster, and he crashed it and then died from the injuries he suffered in the crash. Petrie was a very good mechanic. Little maroon 37 coupe on the side there's Doug Cook. Gentleman with the hat waving at us right there was C.J. Hart. So we know this has to be on a Saturday because Hart would have been back at his trip if this was on a Sunday. Long Beach had quite a few two-day meets. 3 cars at a time, a little like we do once in a while. Here's the Dragmaster car. Winning some pretty heavy elimination runs right